to the Solar Panel, the Phoenix Sun Show.
Hey there, hi there, ho there. You are watching the Solar Panel on a Sunday morning. We the day after Christmas. Thank you all for joining us on the Solar Panel. And I have a couple of super guests today, co-host or main hosts, primary hosts of their own Suns podcast. We now represent 3 of the 500 Suns podcasts out there. The best 3, but 3 of. And I appreciate you guys joining me. Today, I've got Darth Voida, John Voida, who runs the Suns Jam podcast. How you doing, Darth?
Fantastic, and thank you for having me, Dave.
Oh, I appreciate it, man. People watching on YouTube, he gave the look of the hello.
Hey. At least I didn't do what Justin just did. He did the Chris Collinsworth, like, hey, Al. He slid into frame.
And
it's going to happen more than once, too. I guarantee that.
Yeah, is Justin, otherwise known as So Says Jay on the internets. And Justin, the I don't know what we call you as the podcast host of the Fanning the Flames podcast. Is that the I don't know, man, the master of ceremonies there? I'm not sure.
Well, actually, I mean, I felt like you were making it more complicated than it needed to be, but then you went with the whole master of ceremony thing, and that actually has a nice ring to it. So yes, I actually, Dave, if you could refer to me as the master of ceremonies from Fanning the Flames from now on, that'd be fantastic.
I'm not sure if we'd call Fanning the Flames a ceremony, but it's certainly something. Show. It's an event.
It's an experience. It's an experience. That much it is.
Is an event. That's for sure. So anyway, this is
and thank you for having me.
You're welcome. This is the morning after Christmas. The Phoenix Suns finally lost another game, and immediately in our comments section, people are basically saying, blow it up, trade for better players. And Iverson vlogs his second comment in here is, why don't we just purposely lose in the first round so we don't get embarrassed by the Warriors in the playoffs? This is a great way to start the day after Christmas. Yeah, the Grinch showed up. I thought the Grinch was supposed to go back into his cave for another year. But he came in, and he's called Iverson Vlogs. How's it going? Good morning, chatters. This is the Solar Panel. You are watching the Solar Panel. We do, obviously, this show. We do a midweek show, and for most midweeks. We are missing Zona Hoops today. He is traveling with family through the first of the year. So I got some special guest stars to join me and make it even better. No offense to Brandon, but you know what? You guys are going to knock the socks off of this podcast. We are going to recap this week's games. I'm going to ask these guys some true or false questions that I'm sure are entirely serious. We're going to discuss all-star status of all of our players. And then we're going to preview next week's game. And Justin just got up and left again. You know how this works? We usually just stay on the mic.
So what you got to understand, Dave, is that Justin is used to recording a podcast and then editing said podcast and releasing said podcast, whereas you and I both do live stream shows, and then we scrape the audio, and then we put them on our respective podcast feeds. So this is just a little different for Justin. We have to navigate this through with him and just kind of show him the way.
You can see in his face, he's got the face for podcasting. Audio.
Zinged?
You know, Dave, I mean, we'll let the video speak for itself. People can agree with you or disagree with you. That's all entirely up to them. Although I will say my camera is far less of less quality than the other two gentlemen. So if you are judging me, take that into account. Thank you.
We have 364 days until we can get you a new Christmas present. And it will be a webcam that's like $20 at Best Buy.
You would think after 5, 6, I don't know how many years I've been doing my podcast on Brightside of the Sun, Dave would have got me by now some sort of gift of a webcam that makes me look more appealing to people who might be viewing. I mean, if anything, it helps the website too, right?
You make on the Brightside podcast.
You should be able to purchase your own.
You should.
I should have a dozen of them.
I should have a dozen.
Yeah. I spend my.
You could probably afford a dozen $20 webcams from a year's worth of income from the Fanning the Flames, right?
No, I mean, yeah. Dave, I think everybody knows that my Fanning the Flames income goes to sending random fans Taco Bell in Kansas City and other various locations at St. Louis. I don't remember some various locations throughout the country. That's what I do with my Fanning the Flames money.
Gotcha.
Just for the record.
Yeah, we got you.
I'm here, and we're not talking about the Suns at all, just like we do on Fanning the Flames, which is fantastic.
For people who
I
are
love this.
listeners of Fanning the Flames,
Yeah.
you're feeling
right at home
right now. Whereas Darth, the listeners of the Darth Voida podcast, the Suns Jam with Matthew Lissy, you're a little out of water because you're not talking immediately after a Suns game right now.
Yeah,
So
it's
are you
little
okay
bit different.
that a game didn't just end?
It's I mean, it's 7:00 my time. I'm on the Pacific Coast, the PST or whatever it is. So yeah, I'm used to kind of going through a whole day and trying to navigate emotions and then immediately talk right after them. So this is really kind of an interesting experience, processing an entire day, because not only did the Suns lose last night, then you had the Cardinals lose too. So like, I feel like maybe I was naughty for Christmas and that was my gift from Santa, because like all Suns fans, I think we were just and all fans of Arizona sport. It was just kind of a disappointing day yesterday. So I've now had over 12 hours to process those emotions versus having to process those emotions 3 minutes after the game and pressing the go live button. So this is different.
Yeah, this is definitely a little bit different. I'll tell you that. We got to think about it overnight, and some of us are still worked up, like Iverson Blogs in the chat, are still worked up from the loss. Imagine how worked up he was. I don't know if he joins the Suns Jam podcast after games, but I mean, if we're talking about trading the team and all that, yeah. So, okay. Well, let's get into the show. First thing we're going to do is recap games. We'll end with a talk about what we took away from the Warriors' loss on Christmas Day. But before that, during this past week, were 3 wins. The Suns beat the Hornets, the Suns beat the Lakers, and they beat the Thunder. Not the biggest competition in the world, despite what Lakers fans want us to think about their team. Now they're suddenly just saying none of this regular season stuff matters. Well, it does matter if you're on a 5-game losing streak and you're not going to make the playoffs. Then it starts to matter. But anyway, what do you guys think of those 3 wins versus the Warriors loss? Let's talk about the 3 wins first. What was your takeaway from this week's games? We'll start with you, Justin.
I mean, the 3 wins that we had this week were 3 wins that you expect the Suns to have, right? That's something that I think we've been seeing more of than we've seen even last year, was the team going into games that we expect them to win, even when there might be reasons for them not to win, but still pulling out the W, right? We've seen, and now I think, and I know we'll get to the Warriors game, but I think it's one of the things that hit them yesterday is kind of playing down to the competition, because obviously the Warriors were shorthanded yesterday, and we've seen in the past the Suns tend to play down to their competition. Maybe that's what happened with us yesterday, but at the end of the day, again, you have those games where you expect them to win. Those were 3 games that they had earlier this week in Charlotte, in LA, and in the OKC game. They won all 3 of them. That's exactly what they should be doing. So that should be encouraging, notwithstanding the result of yesterday's game. Now, the OKC game got a little closer, a little dicier than I think I had personally wanted. But again, ultimately, it's a matter of winning those games. Whether they win them by 1, whether they win by 30, it doesn't matter, because you need those wins to position yourself for a playoff run like they did last year. And I think they're going to position themselves again, notwithstanding the loss yesterday, this year for another long playoff run. So those 3 wins, taking care of business. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, definitely. TCOB, right? I mean, that's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to win those games. And imagine.
Is that really an acronym?
TCOB, yeah.
Make that up?
No, I've heard it somewhere.
I've never heard that before in my life.
Well, I've bestowed upon you the gift of TCOB. You're going to be using it all the time whenever you're in a Zoom meeting with work, and you're like, listen, I'm just here to TCOB, okay? Can we get this thing done? Get yourself TCOB. Come on, let's go.
Yeah, let's see. Let's everybody in the chat, all dozen of you in the chat right now on a Sunday morning after Christmas, let us know if you've ever heard of TCOB as an acronym. I need to know.
I think you're thinking of TCBY, but yeah, I'm with Dave on this one, surprisingly.
It's in the Urban Dictionary, okay? Just Google it. You'll find it.
Oh, you're more urban than we are. I get it.
Yeah, I'm on the West Coast right now. Okay, I'm learning, different phrases and such. But back to my
You're in
TCOB.
Reno, right? Reno.
Yes, Reno,
Just confirming.
and if you look out the hotel window, you'll see nothing but snow. It snowed all
Ooh.
day
Wow.
yesterday. I can't wait
This
to go
is
to work
Ugh.
this morning.
Really
and
great for our audio listeners.
yeah, there's a bunch of white stuff on the ground, and you can't snort it. So again, knowing that they took care of business in those 3 games, that's what they're supposed to do, right? Like, imagine how Iverson Vlogs would feel and where he would be right now. He'd probably be walking down a long road by himself, head down, if they lost one of those 3 games, right? You lose to the Hornets, you lose to a Lakers team that's undermanned and didn't have Frank Vogel there coaching, and then you lose to the Oklahoma City Thunder. That's frustrating. Losing last night to the Warriors, as frustrating as it might feel because it's on national TV audience, things of that nature, it's still that was a quality game against a quality opponent. So the first 3 games in the week were just primers, primers for Devin Booker coming back. We saw him come back against the Hornets. We saw him kind of build himself up, get back in shape. So there's a lot of positives to take away from this week. Of course, we're going to be left with a sour taste in our mouth because of the Warriors, but for the most part, there's a lot to be happy. I mean, we're 26-6.
Yeah.
Take it.
How many Suns teams in history have been better than 26-6?
1? That's my guess.
1.
Yeah.
I think is
1.
better than a guess.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's
Spicy.
definitely one team in Suns history was better than 26-6. Only 2 other teams in Suns history have ever made the NBA Finals. And none of those are the same team that was better than 26-6. So this team is the best constructed team in Suns history. Now, let's talk about the Golden State game. In particular, I want to make a couple of comments. First of all, holy crap, that was a high-level game.
Mm-hmm.
Both teams were playing very, very well. And despite the score looking like there was a lot of scoring, I mean, 116 to 107, first half was almost 60 to 60, right? It was 62-58, somewhere around there. And that was high scoring. And yet the defense is what impressed me the most. Both teams playing incredible defense in that game, really taking away the other team's primary players and making it tough where, you got Steph Curry shimmies and you got a couple of big shots by Curry, but the dude still only made like 30% of his shots. And as Monty Williams said after the game, he was 10 for 27. Monty Williams said, we'll take that. It's the other guys who beat us. It's the other guys who stepped up. And twice now, when the Warriors have beaten the Suns in the last 2 meetings, and now have the takeaway, they've got at least a tie for the season series against the Suns with a 2-1 lead. They've beaten the Suns with their role players. So Juan Toscano-Anderson a couple weeks ago was really big for them in that game in Golden State. And then Otto Porter on Christmas Day suddenly becoming an Otto Porter that no one has seen before. The Bulls are just like, who's that? Who is that guy? The Bulls who gave Otto Porter a max contract. Who is that guy? He's always had the skills, but he's never had the game to show for it. He's had obviously had some of a game because he got a max contract, unlike the Suns' young center. But Otto Porter did get a max extension off of his rookie deal. So he must have been better than DA. Imagine how do you fly under the radar so much that he's better than DA? But anyway, he played for a bad Washington team that barely made the playoffs a couple of years. And so he got some exposure on the national stage, I guess. He went to Chicago, was injured most of the time, and suddenly played like Kevin Durant closing out that game. As Nathaniel Jackson said, turned into Kevin Durant. I mean, I don't know if Otto Porter has that many pull-ups all year, pull-up shots, and he made like 4 in the final 2 minutes. So that's what happened. Golden State got great contributions from their their role players who were not supposed to be good. And of course, you got to talk about Gary Payton II as well. He's been incredible for them this past 2 months. He's kind of like a campaign on the top of his game. Not today's campaign.
I'm like, what, did he turn the ball over 5 times?
Yeah. Last year's campaign and the bubble campaign. That's suddenly Gary Payton II is playing like that kind of guy. maybe even better. I don't know, but he can't pass, and he can shoot. He can catch and shoot. He's kind of like Javon Carter with more length, maybe, is Gary Payton II. Anyway, my takeaways are the Golden State role players were better than the Suns role players all game long.
That's a nice takeaway you got there, Dave.
That's fair. Yeah. Here's the real operative question, though, Dave. Is that possible? Is that something that can be sustained over a 7-game period? Because I don't care about the Warriors beating the Suns yesterday. Honestly, I don't. I'm disappointed. Sure. I was disappointed yesterday. Absolutely. Was I annoyed? 100%. But sorry, Iverson blogs or vlogs or anybody else that thinks, yesterday's loss is some sort of, statement about this team and what it's capable of. It's not. I mean, Booker played a game where he shot 26%.
Yeah.
How often does
Booker
that
had
happen?
a bad game.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very rarely. In fact, I think he's done it. If I remember this correctly, because I look up weird things like this. I think he's done it 34 times in his career where he had a game where he shot 26% or less.
Ooh, wait a minute. You're gonna do my stat me, but we're gonna pretend it's Justin.
Dang, stat me.
Justin, stat me. Go ahead.
Go on.
Brought to you by Sensual Justin. If you get into
Sensual
a bad car accident, call Sensual Justin instead of Sweet James. Anyway, I can't believe I actually said that out loud. Anyway,
and live. Can't edit
what
that
was I
one out.
saying? What was I talking? Yeah, exactly.
Devin Booker's 26%.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
how often does that happen? It's again 34 times in his career. I think he's 430 something games in his career. So at less than 10% of the time. Guess what? That's not going to happen 4 out of 7 games in a playoff series, right? I also, we can sit here, we can talk about what Otto Porter did yesterday. We can talk about what he even hit some big threes in that first game against the Suns, or the game where the Suns won to tie their all-time record. But at the end of the day, big picture, are those guys better than our role players? Is Gary Payton II and Otto Porter, are those guys better than our role players? I say no. Did they beat the Suns yesterday? Yeah, they did. Did the role players beat the Suns when they played against them in Golden State? I would suggest that a little thing called Devin Booker not playing in that game had an impact on it. I'd look at that more than anything the role players did in that game. But like I said, at the end of the day, yeah, Otto Porter Jr. looked fantastic yesterday. But is he going to do it over a 7-game series in the playoffs? I certainly don't think so. I'm not concerned about it. You know what? If he does, then guess what? Warriors pulled one off by managing to turn Otto Porter into KD magically after a lackluster career up until that point.
Well, that's what it took. It took that kind of, even with like Nathaniel Jackson comments in the chat. We kept getting beat backdoor. First quarter, backdoor cuts killed the Suns. Killed them, and it just was frustrating. But the Suns cleaned that up, or the Golden State didn't just decide to stop doing backdoor cuts for easy scores. The Suns cleaned that up on their defensive coverages. They covered Steph as hard as they could. They covered Draymond as hard as they could, and they required those role players to have outsized games to be that great. And they had a great game. So let's give Golden State props. They came in focused to win that game. They really, really did, and they played as good as they possibly could. And they still needed Otto Porter to beat Kevin Durant for a minute to close it out. So let's give them props and let's congratulate them on a well-played game.
Well, yeah, I mean, we
don't need to congratulate them, right? Can we stop short of congratulating them, Dave?
You can
pat on the back.
You can stop short of congratulate them. I'll congratulate them on a well-played game. Somebody who isn't worried about their own masculinity and their own control of a situation can congratulate somebody for having a good moment.
I have so many analogies that I could use right now, but since this pod can't be edited, I will not. I'll share them with you perhaps afterwards, Dave. But fair to say we'll agree to disagree on the application of that particular analogy.
If you don't have the capacity to recognize other people's moments of goodness, then
I can recognize it, but do you have to congratulate them?
Yes.
Do I have to be literally in the middle of this thing? Like I'm literally in the middle of
Void is literally in between us. Yes.
Voida, in fact,
And
I
he's
feel like
the-
that. I mean, did you?
kid
Would
at the,
you?
the
Would,
kid at the
did
table
you?
with the parents going, what the hell?
Oh God, Mom and Dad are
I
fighting
just-
again. Merry
Just
Christmas.
remember, John, 2 Christmases for you. Okay, that's all. Because Dave and I,
I
are here.
know.
Yeah,
I
we
know.
know.
you guys see where I'm going there.
Yes.
No, but John, would you congratulate the Warriors? I mean, tell me I'm wrong here. If I'm fine, that's fine. I'm just saying. It seems like congratulations
told you
seems
it's
like
wrong.
Now I have to pick a side. So I'll start.
No,
with
no,
this.
mommy and daddy should
No.
never have children.
Is it
Don't
my
do
fault?
that, Justin. That is
Is it my
because
fault?
mean and unusual. No, just Dorothy, you can just say, I choose not to vote.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this. I
can.
will not.
Let's let the judge tell me where.
I
to live.
will not congratulate Warriors fans. Okay.
Oh no, I never
Well,
even attempted to congratulate.
Because I'll tell you this once again, and I've mentioned this before when I was on with you last, Dave. Warriors fans are a special breed because they've gone into the Suns Jam Session post-game podcast and left some of the most ridiculous, stupid comments about how we are one Chris Paul injury away from being in the play-in game and things like that. It's like, you just won, and this is who you are? Now, again, I think one of the reasons that a lot of Suns fans are a little bit more worried than I would say probably all three of us are. I don't think any of us are truly worried following this game. But there you go. Ross is on the bottom. Clay wasn't there, and the Suns were at full strength. Suns are in trouble. Okay, the Warriors were down. They didn't have Jordan Poole. They didn't have Andrew Wiggins. So, you look at these different rosters and you go, okay, well, here's all the reasons why the Suns should have won. They're at full strength. They're not. But when typically what we've seen, especially during all of these COVID protocol games, is a lot of these teams that are undermanned and under strength, they're bringing in guys who have a specific set of just fire. This is their opportunity to shine. And they bring a level of intensity that we saw in the first quarter yesterday, right? Warriors outscored the Suns 33-27 right off the bat. And even Monty Williams said at the end of the game, he said they just, they brought more of an intensity to this game. They consistently throughout the entire game managed to have that passion, that fire, whereas the Suns, due to the way that they've been operating thus far this season, kind of felt like, and correct me if I'm wrong here, guys, but the Suns, they're a team that knows that they can flip a switch. And they've done it kind of numerous times. You mentioned the OKC game. It's a game where it got kind of close, and then they're like, okay, turn on the switch. Let's just put them away. And it's like when you're playing a team like the Warriors who have something that OKC doesn't, something that I'll even say the Lakers don't have, quality leadership. When you have Steph Curry and Draymond Green on your team, much akin to the Suns having Devin Booker and Chris Paul and Jay Crowder on the team, you're going to have a team that's going to, for 48 minutes, bring it. Okay? Whereas those other teams, they don't know who they are in the last 5 minutes. So they get discombobulated. The Suns can take advantage of that discombobulation, ultimately win the game. Last night, smartly, the Suns would attack Steph Curry. And he knew smartly, I need to get the ball to Otto Porter. And all of a sudden, Otto Porter, as we mentioned, turns into Kevin Durant. And Doris Burke didn't know what to say because she had like 17,000 more things to say great about Steph Curry. All of a sudden, it's Otto Porter out there hitting.
Not touching the ball in the last 2 minutes, so Doris ran out of things to say.
She didn't know what else to say. She's like, all my notes. She held up her note sheets. It's like, I love Steph. It's just like over and over again, like The Simpsons.
I love Steph.
Yeah, I love Steph. So I mean, again,
surprised she didn't start talking about the Lakers just because it's, but
she
by
loves the
default,
Lakers too.
Lakers.
LeBron
Starts yelling it. LeBron Lakers.
The next game, LeBron Lakers. LeBron
Like
Lakers. What do I do? So again,
you know
Loud noises.
Yeah.
I'm not overly worried about what occurred yesterday because what it did is it allowed, because if you notice, there were times there were both for a total of about 6 minutes and 30 seconds in this game. There was no DA, no JaVale. The Warriors were playing small, so Monty decided to play small as well. And again, it's a overused euphemism, but
way too long playing small.
agreed. But this is the way I look at it. Maybe, and this is overused the euphemism. Maybe he's playing chess while we're playing checkers. Maybe he's sitting there going, if I'm in a 7-game series with the Golden State Warriors, they might throw these small ball lineups at me. I need to put on film how we operate against these small ball lineups. So when that time comes, I can execute different offensive and defensive sets. Again, I'm probably overthinking that because it would have made sense to me to keep it's JaVale and DA, and we have the size advantage, and we have the rebound advantage, and we're negating those offensive rebounds the entire time in the second chance points. But in the grand scheme of things, this is one game out of 82. This isn't one game out of 7. We're not in that Western Conference Finals against this team yet. So let's take what
But
we learned.
even if it's one game out of 7, that was a good game. And it was
a good
one
game.
of those endings that's not repeatable. The Warriors are not going to go into practice today suddenly saying that Otto Porter is the big shot maker and we're going to go to him in closing seconds every game. Now, I also want to make my own comment about Clay wasn't there and the Suns were at full strength. Suns are in trouble. Here's the thing. Look, people, I need you to understand that the NBA is not about building blocks. This isn't Legos. You can't add a player and suddenly they're that much better. It's not additive. There's still only ever 5 guys on the court. So if you put Clay out there and you give him a really good game, guess what? Pretty much that's the Otto Porter game. You put other guys out there. You put Andrew Wiggins out there. I mean, look, tell you what, Andrew Wiggins has never made big shots like Otto Porter. If Andrew Wiggins was out there, actually the Suns might have won that game. I mean, come on. If the regular Otto Porter was out there, the Suns probably would have won that game. The Suns were at full strength. Okay, fine.
The logic checks out.
Absolutely. The Suns, yeah. I mean, we all miss Frank Kaminsky, but the Suns were pretty much at full strength in that game. That's true. But they had a bad game, and it happens. You don't win every single game. I mean, we are spoiled if we're pissed off about a 26-6 start. I mean, come on. But you lost one game to the Golden State Warriors. What's the I'm going to ask you guys a question. What is the Suns' record against winning teams?
Best in the NBA. I don't know what the actual number is, but I know it's the best in the NBA.
Wow, you know what?
15-4.
So the ESPN has like a tab where you can check a team's record against those that are 500 and above in the moment, like as of this moment, 500 and above. But because the West only has 5 teams above 500, suddenly everybody's number of games in the West against winning teams went way down. Suns are back down all the way down to 7-3, but they were 11-3 just a couple of days ago against winning teams. But what the point I'm trying to make in last year, the Suns were the best in the league against winning teams as well. This is that same team. They had a bad game. Devin Booker made only 26% of his shots. He's not going to do that on a regular basis. He proved all the way through the playoffs he's not going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
DeAndre Ayton had a pretty good game, but he didn't rebound very well. You can't get out rebounded by Gary Payton II.
Mm-hmm.
Part of that is boxing out because Gary Payton obviously was not battling DeAndre Ayton for rebounds. Who was battling Ayton for rebounds was Kevon Looney and Draymond Green, who were double teaming and boxing out Ayton so that the other guys could get the rebounds. And the Suns were allowing Gary Payton II to get those extra rebounds. So I think that was really important. You can't just add more players and add points to the score. They take away from the guys who did play. And if you can't admit that Golden State had a great game from its subs and his backup players, and then say that the starters would have been even better. The guys who are on the bench or were out injured would have been even better, because that's just not true. Games are different. The Warriors have the best record in the NBA right now at 27-6. How much better could it be with Clay? Even a full strength Clay.
Exactly.
It's not possible.
And to the point that we've kind of been going over about the role players having exceptional games yesterday, or an exceptional game yesterday. Kevon Looney had 6 offensive rebounds and he averages like 2 a game. Again, another anomaly statistically that really I think points more to the Suns needed to clean things up, like you're saying, Dave, more than anything. And to the point you brought up, Voida, about Monty playing chess when everyone else is playing checkers, maybe. I mean, look what we did last year during the playoffs. The game plan changed completely. All of a sudden, DA turned into a second option on the floor. To your point about the Suns sticking, maybe going small a little too long, not going back to the bigs. Maybe Monty's saying, let's let them see this look, run with this look, because once playoff time rolls around, the look's going to change up.
What is comment about this is chess, not checkers? Monty is definitely playing chess out there. Definitely playing chess out there. He is not thinking about this. He's got to build up Campaign. If Campaign's playing terrible, that's 5 first half turnovers. I think every time Campaign touched the ball, he handed it to a Warriors player in the first half. He still played in the second half, and he had a chance to redeem himself, and he made a couple of good threes and nearly did. So the Suns didn't get beat by the bench as badly as they got beat in the first half by the bench. So you got to build up your guys because that's who you're going to go to war with in the playoffs.
Did anybody have NBA Finals PTSD though when Chris Paul turned the ball over when we were down 4 with 2 minutes left in the game? Because I did.
Though,
not me. Those are all repressed.
Those are all repressed. No, what gave me NBA Finals PTSD was when they did a cutaway advertising the Bucks game, and they showed Giannis with his block on DA at the end of game, was it 5? That gave me PTSD and put me into a momentary depression. Yeah.
There's a comment in here about your signed Bucks Giannis book, Dave, but I don't know. It's too early for me to find it.
Oh my God. Don't channel Duarte on this, all right? It is okay to recognize greatness from teams that don't wear Suns colors.
Congratulations.
Okay. Jesus Christ. All right, let's move on.
His birthday was yesterday.
We're moving on to true or false. We're going to
I thought you meant dance for a second. I'm like, I missed it.
Oh, Jesus
We're
Christ.
going into a rapid fire true or false section. You guys are going to give me quick answers on some of these questions that are burning questions, okay? So the first question, true or false, we're going to start with Voida. Christmas fireworks are the worst thing in the world.
100% true.
Yeah, true.
Jesus, all the last couple of days, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, either there's been a lot of murders in my neighborhood, or these fireworks are just are bursting a little bit too close to the ground. And last night, somebody was doing those the sparklers that make the sound, but it was so loud I could hear it at 11 o'clock at night while I'm trying to get my beauty sleep. And these guys is the worst. Christmas fireworks.
I feel like we live almost in the same neighborhood because I have a Nest Cam, and the Nest Cam at like 11 o'clock my time here in Reno, so that's 12 o'clock in Phoenix. All of a sudden, I'm getting notifications, and I'm watching it, and all of a sudden, it's just like, and my wife's texting me, and she's like, "There's people lighting off fireworks. It's Christmas Eve." So you've got kids who are going to bed, and earmuffs any kids who are watching the Solar Panel podcast. They're waiting for Santa, and now they have to get up, and parents are mid being Santa, and all of a sudden it sounds like explosions are going off outside, and it's just like it's the worst. Like, stop that crap. New Year's I get. We're all up, we're all drunk, but like Christmas,
I am not looking forward to my first New Year's in this neighborhood after Christmas the way it was.
I love the logic there, Voida. New Year's fireworks, fantastic. We're up, we're drunk. Let's fire off stuff.
Yes,
okay?
Let's blow a hand off. Let's JPP it. But like Christmas, it's like everyone's trying to go to bed at like 11. You're trying to get the kids to bed so you can get your job done. And now it's 11 o'clock, and then boom, shakalaka, whoop, whoop. There it is. It's annoying.
Yeah. So I'm not looking forward to New Year's. I'll probably be bitching about this next week on next week's show after New Year's. Okay, next true or false. Christmas still sucked this year anyway. We're going to start with Voida. How was your Christmas?
Come on.
How
That's
was your
fair.
Christmas, Voida?
That's not fair. My Christmas sucked, man. I mean, I'm on the road. I'm in Reno, Nevada. I'm not with my family. I'm trying to watch the Suns game. It starts snowing. 4 minutes left in the game. The TV goes out, so I can't even watch the game on TV. It's the one thing I have here, so I have to watch it on my phone. I have to watch the Cardinals game on my computer, which sucked as well. I go down to the front desk to get some snacks. I had to wait there for like 20 minutes because there was no one at the front desk. I'm just sitting there with like a bag of Sun Chips.
They were celebrating Christmas.
I don't know where they were. They were, celebrating the birth of our Lord. And I'm standing there with all my Suns gear on, and it's every time the door opens, it's just freezing cold air coming in. It was a bad Christmas. So.
You
should have just taken the bag of chips, man. Like later on,
I really was thinking about it, but like I have integrity, so.
Well, you can tell them later. I mean, I think they'll survive for the few hours that sale isn't rung up. I would think. I
would hope so, but I mean, everyone's snowed in. I'm getting text messages as we speak about all my associates who are supposed to be there, and they're like, "We're snowed in. We can't work." I'm like, "Great. Can I use that excuse, please?"
Yes.
I'll have a blue Christmas without you. Justin, how about you?
Oh, I had a lovely Christmas, if I do say so myself.
Okay,
Sorry, Voida. I mean, here's the thing. Look,
Okay.
at the end of the day, Voida, if I were in your boat, I'd be saying the same thing because nobody wants to spend Christmas in Reno alone. That's for sure, right? I mean, call a spade a spade, right?
So sad.
It does. It does. It's Christmas alone in Reno. Like, Merry Christmas 2021. Here's your postcard from Reno. It's Voida in a room by himself with a blanket of snow blocking the window entirely because he can't go outside, right? That's what it was. I didn't have that. I spent time with my family, and look, the sports thing, yeah, the Suns game sucked. Yeah, the Cardinals game sucked. But at the end of the day, we're Arizona sports fans, man. Do we expect it to go any other way than it went yesterday?
Nope.
And let me go full spin zone on this. I feel like our team, and I said this before the Warriors game when the Suns tied their all-time record for the longest franchise winning streak. I told my buddy as we're on the way to that game, I go, not gonna lie to you, if the Suns lose this game, I'm not gonna shed a tear because this team plays better when they've got a little chip on their shoulder. And I think losing, you know what, Dave? As much as you celebrate other teams' wins, I commiserate over the Suns' losses equally hard. Okay, I'll just put it like that. So yes, sometimes tears are shed over losses. Okay, but again, at the end of the day, I completely lost where I was going with that. What was I talking about? I got too focused on throwing shots at Dave. That's right. We knew that this was going to go this way, and I think it leaves that chip on the shoulder for the Suns. I don't know if that's going to operate the same way for the Cardinals, to be quite honest. I don't know that they have the same mentality, but the Suns do. So I could take
Monty Williams, and Cliff Kingsbury. Enough said.
Cliff's very good looking. Actually, Monty is too. So Cliff's can't really.
You can't coach yourself out of a box.
Compare to Monty at all.
Cliff enjoys how good looking he is, though. Monty doesn't give a crap.
Exactly.
That's fair. That's fair. If I were Cliff, I'd enjoy how good looking I was too, though, because I mean he's a very good looking man.
You would have an HD camera by now.
Oh, for sure. And Fanning the Flames would have been from day one video only.
No audio.
So so false. My rapid reaction is false. I had a lovely Christmas, notwithstanding the results of those games.
All right, I will weigh in real quickly. I'm not going to belabor this, but it's I'm going to say true. Christmas still sucked. This is still COVID land. Omicron is going crazy. I have to take a COVID test today after this podcast, actually, and I can't afford to test positive whether I'm symptomatic or not because I have to have a procedure done this week and I can't have it delayed. So Christmas sucked. I had to do Zoom. We had to sit and just stream Christmas movies and feel sorry for ourselves for a couple of days. But we're going to have a post-Christmas party after the new year. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to buy
fireworks.
Some damn fireworks.
Yes.
That's right. And I'm going to explode those things all over the neighborhood, right in every neighbor's front lawn. That's what I'm going to freaking do.
Yes.
I'm here for that. I'll be there. Like, tell me when, and I'm going to be there, live stream it. That could be another Megapod. Void and I will handle that one for you, Dave. You don't even need to worry about it. We'll just commentate we'll live stream and commentate your firework revenge tour.
Look at the way he runs away from the fireworks. It's adorable.
He's so spry. He's so spry.
Oh, look, he got blown forward a little bit. All right.
I thought that only happened in movies.
All right, next question. Steph Curry is the league's MVP. Justin.
True. I mean, here's the thing.
We're not congratulating him.
I can appreciate that Steph Curry is a good player. Okay? He's a great player. I don't have to be happy about it. I don't have to root for him, even when he's not playing the Suns. I don't have to congratulate him for beating the Suns. But, I mean, at the end of the day, you've got a guy who's leading a team to what right now is the best record in the NBA, doing it while putting up some pretty, for him, standard numbers, but compared to everybody else, gaudy numbers, right? So I think it's hard to argue that Steph, as of right now, isn't the MVP. So I'll say true.
Yeah, I mean that's a no-brainer. I mean, if Doris Burke had a vote she would vote for him every time and twice on Sundays. The national narrative there is the stories there, everything that you just mentioned. And as you said, Justin, we don't have to like it, but I can call a spade and be like, yep, he's clearly got the story. He's got the points. He's got the best record in the league, even if he is a douche. Am I right, Justin?
Which he is 100% confirmed by Twitter, scientific poll. It's official. Steph Curry
Iverson
is a
blog
douche.
Votes that false. It's easy money snipper. Are you talking about somebody who performs vasectomies? Is the MVP?
Is that the procedure this week,
Easy
Dave?
money snippy? No, that's not actually. That was a long time ago. That was a long time ago.
I was like, Voida, how old do you think Dave is?
Yeah,
He's spry, right? He's pretty fly for a spry guy.
I don't need that kind of thing anymore. All right. Suns.
A lot of information being shared this episode.
Suns have a fatal flaw that the Warriors exposed. Voida, you first.
No,
fatal
not my opinion. Fatal, no. I mean, again, there were some areas of opportunity for the Phoenix Suns, especially when it wasn't DA or JaVale on the court. I really feel like those were minutes that were interesting to observe. And I'll definitely be going back and seeing how those minutes progress, because I know in the first half they were productive, and the second half they weren't necessarily as productive. But I don't think that there's a fatal flaw. I remember I was listening to this podcast somewhere, and they're saying, "Well, what's the Suns?" It was the He's on Fire podcast. They're like, "What's the Suns' weakness this year?" In my opinion, it was free throw shooting. Something we don't do nearly as well as we've done in the past, and we were 16 of 16 from the free throw line this game. So I'm like, we're working on some things. It's again false. I'll just stick with false.
Yeah, Nicholas Blackiston puts in the comment. Oh, hold on one sec, Justin. I'll go to you. Nicholas Blackiston puts, "Fuck the Warriors. How are they so good, and how can the Suns beat them?" Well, the Suns did beat them already this year. So, okay, Justin, go for it.
No, I mean false. I think saying there's a fatal flaw, you can't even identify what that might be. I mean, maybe you can, Dave. Maybe you have something in mind, but I'm with Void. I don't see anything where I'm like, that's something that they can't be overcome, or isn't just a game to game type thing. I mean, at the end of the day, we can all agree that if and when the Suns and the Warriors meet in the playoffs, it's going to be a battle. It's going to be a long series. So is there one thing that is going to destroy the Suns or limit the Suns' chances in that series? I think the obvious answer to that, at least from my perspective, is no.
I think it's false as well. I don't think there was any one flaw or any flaws at all that are fatal. I think a culmination of not playing well in a lot of areas, you lose a game against the other best teams in the league. So could the Suns lose a series? Sure. Could any team in the NBA lose a series? Yes. So fatal, like everyone's going to expose this. Well, people thought the Suns were going to get exposed last year in the playoffs, and they just didn't. The only thing that beat the Suns in the playoffs last year was an outsized performance from a particular individual. I'm not congratulating
Scott Foster.
Congratulations, Scott Foster.
Yep, Scott Foster.
All right, then.
That's who you're talking about, Dave? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because we do talk about the refs all the time. You know, that's a different podcast. Wait a minute. So did the Suns
expect performance? Just standard performance. Success at your job is not too much to ask for, I don't think.
Sustained.
Suns do have if the Suns have a fatal flaw, is that they don't have 4 Hall of Fame in their prime players at the moment. So, you know, like the Warriors did a few years ago. Short of that, nobody does. And that means anybody can get beat, but I think the Suns showed that they can beat anybody as well. And as you said earlier in this episode, Boyda, oh God, I lost my train of thought, but you said something and it was good, but we'll skip.
Thanks.
That.
Appreciate
All
that.
Right. Sure.
I heard it and I agree. It was fantastic. Hey, and Dave, you brought up
it again.
You brought up a good point though. When you said Suns don't have 4 Hall of Fame players in their prime, the Suns' youth isn't even in its prime yet. That's the beautiful thing about this team, right? I mean, I think Devin Booker is starting to step into his prime years, right? But I don't even think he's at his peak yet. DA, we've seen his development over the past 3 seasons, now into his 4th. Obviously, we know that development has continued and expected to continue. Mikal, Cam, they've been taking steps. These guys are all still just scratching the surface, boys.
Yeah.
Scratching the surface.
They really are. On that note, we're gonna take a quick break while I break away from the outline and talk about something that's really important to me, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about the Suns All-Star chances, how many All-Stars the Suns could possibly have. So the first thing I want to do is, for the moment, I want to talk about something called Brightside. Oh no, what's happening? Oh, it's not showing up. Oh no,
It's behind us.
It's behind us.
It's
So
a
I'm going to take
background.
us out. But then
Oh, now it's
to have another Brightside Night this year, where the Suns get to play the Houston Rockets. And I don't have this scripted at all, as you guys can tell. I'm completely fumbling through it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in our chat a link to be able to donate tickets to Brightside Night, where all it takes is $11, and you can send a first responder or a healthcare hero to a Suns game in February. Just $11. And we've already got over 1,000 tickets sold. If you donate 10 plus tickets, you will get a special invite to the game. You'll get your tickets as well to go to the game, but you also get a special invite before the game to talk to a Suns front office person. In the past years, we've gotten either Ryan McDonough or James Jones. So we are going to get one of those guys. Well, not Ryan, but certainly we're going to get James Jones or somebody close to him in the front office to talk to us before the game. All you got to do is donate 10 plus tickets. If you donate 25 plus tickets, you'll get lower bowl tickets for yourself as well. So you get invited to an encore picture taking as well before the game. So please go to suns.com/brightside and look at what you can get for making donations. And we'll be able to give back to our community by giving tickets to first responders and healthcare heroes. So that's my quick commercial. That's really all I got to say. And I need to have John Darth Voida make me a commercial so I don't have to fumble through this again, because now that we're past Christmas, I can start focusing on this and getting these tickets sold. 2 years ago, last time we did this before the pandemic, we sold 4,400 tickets. This year we're just over 1,000, so we need to really catch up. So I'm looking forward to being able to do that with you guys. And that's it. So let's move on to third quarter. Now that I've stumbled, let's talk about All-Stars. How many All-Stars are the Suns going to have, Justin?
I'm going to say 2. And we talked about this on Fanning the Flames last week, I think. Chris Paul, I think, he's going to be there. He's having a standard year by his account, I think. He's doing what we expect him to do, and he's leading the team to one of the best records in the league. And based on his history, I think it's going to be hard for him to not be in there. I think Book's going to be in again this year. The last 2 years, we've seen him make it as an injury replacement. I think even though his stats are down, I still expect him to make it, because now everything that worked against him in the past that the Suns weren't winning is exactly why he should be making it. And then, of course, the third person that, comes to mind is DA. Is he deserving? I think he is. I mean, at the end of the day, you look what he's doing this year. When Book hasn't been in, he's shown what he can do offensively. He's maintained, if not, increased his defensive performance from last year, which is something that we all expected, because we know that DA's focal point for the past couple of seasons has really been improving the defense, and we've seen it. But, you've got Jokic, you've got Gobert, who I think are just as a matter of course going to be there. And then it becomes a question of, okay, when the coaches are voting in the reserves, are they going to be looking at another big? Are they not? You have the fan voting theme that comes into play. Who knows what kind of crazy nonsense the fans are going to do, because you've got the Lakers out there still, and you've got AD, who's useless and always injured. But hey, why not vote him in as an all-star? And you've got Russell Westbrook, who, He's the exact fit that we expected him to be on that Lakers team. But hey, why not vote him in too? Because we're in LA. So that's the kind of thing that might happen as well. But ultimately, I think the DA thing, it's going to be a lot like Booker back in the day, where we all see it, we think he deserves it, but for whatever reason, he's not going to get that nod. And I think back before with Book, it was the Suns weren't winning, and I think now with DA, it's going to be, well, he's not putting up enough points type thing. I mean, the same type of argument some people, and I think it's ridiculous, make when it comes to talking about his max deal. I think the same type of thing might be looked at when it comes to the All-Star stuff, but DA is going to be an All-Star someday. I just don't think it'll be this year. I'd love for it to be. I'd love for them to have 3, but I think it's going to be 2.
Welcome to the Sun Solar Panel, where we all agree with each other, so there's not a lot of debate. Yeah, it's 2, and I agree with everything that Justin said. I want DA to be there. I think he's earned the right, but again, because the metrics aren't necessarily there, because he's not a volume play, because he doesn't need to be a volume play, he won't be there. But in my personal opinion, he's better than Rudy Gobert. He's not Jokic, but he's in between that category relative to centers in the Western Conference, so he should be there. But this is where maybe beating the Warriors yesterday would have been good for, the national media to be like, you know what? Yeah, DA, definitely him. Because the narratives, again, are there. With Devin Booker, the narrative's definitely there. He's been an all-star stub twice. He gets in. He's been a member of the Olympic team now. We saw him in the finals, so everyone knows who he is, and they know that he's deserving. DA is somebody who everyone kind of understood that he has a prominence at his position in the playoffs last year, the way that he performed. And in a couple of the big national media games, for the most part, DA plays well. But like Christmas Day would have been kind of one of those days where if he goes out there and puts up a 20 and 15, maybe that moves the needle. But again, it's all rigged, so it doesn't matter.
All right. So the rules on All-Star, and I know you guys went over this on Fanning the Flames. I thought that was a good discussion. The rules on All-Star
Every now and
is
then.
There's voting for the starters. For people who don't remember, there's voting for the starters. The fans get 50% credit for it. So you guys need to vote for All-Stars for the Phoenix Suns. And then the media and players get the other 50%. Last year, the starters were James Harden and Luka Doncic at guard. Doncic will stay as a guard most certainly. So don't even try to talk yourself into moving him to a different position for qualifying for All-Star.
Notwithstanding where his weight might put him.
Exactly. He'll be the biggest guard ever at 270 to 300 pounds. And then you've got Steph Curry as the other guard. He's going to get voted in. He just is. So the guards, the voted in positions are going to be those 2. However, if the Suns fans go crazy and vote in Devin Booker, that's great, because I think media and players would give Devin Booker would consider him for a start. Luka Doncic says his team has been disappointing this year, so it's quite possible that Booker could. It's conceivable that Booker could get voted by fans, media, and coaches to start, but it's very unlikely. So that means he's got to be picked. Sorry, fans, media, and players. That means he's got to be picked by coaches as a reserve. The coaches, the 30 NBA coaches, can vote for and pick just among those 30 votes, or whoever they delegated to on their coaching staff, 2 guards, and then also 2 reserves, 2 guards, 3 forwards, and then 2 wild cards. Okay, which could be any position. So what happened last year? Last year, the coaches picked Chris Paul, which I think they'll pick again, Russell Westbrook, which I don't think they'll pick again, Damian Lillard. I do think they'll pick Damian Lillard. You guys were talking on Fanning that they might not pick Dame, but I think they will. Donovan Mitchell, I think they'll pick. So that means there's 1 guard spot open for voting. Booker got in when Dame couldn't play. I think Mitchell definitely gets picked again by the coaches, just because they like to pick the same guy they picked last year. They want to put the least amount of thought into these votes. So I think Booker gets Russell Westbrook's spot. So that means Chris Paul and Devin Booker as reserve guards. I really do think that'll happen. And then does DA get in as a forward? Well, let's talk about who got in. The rest of the starters, you got LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, and Anthony Davis were all voted in by fans. You certainly are not going to get Kawhi Leonard voted in by fans. You will get LeBron James and Anthony Davis because they're Lakers, but I think the Lakers are gonna crap all over Russell Westbrook, which gets the Suns' Devin Booker in there as a reserve. But you've got LeBron and Anthony Davis. I don't know if Anthony Davis is going to get the votes this year. but fans will pick him. But certainly, I don't think players and media will. So that leaves some forward spots open. And then you've got who else got picked? Nikola Jokic, he'll get it again. Rudy Gobert, he'll get it again. And then Brandon Ingram was a first-time All-Star last year.
Yeah,
I would say DeAndre Ayton has a better chance than Brandon Ingram to make the All-Star.
Well, and even if Anthony Davis gets voted in, he's not playing. I don't think he's going to be back healthy in time for the All-Star game.
It'll be close.
It'll be close. And even if he let's say he comes back, do the Lakers want him to play in the All-Star game then? I mean, if I'm the Lakers, I want Anthony Davis as far away from a basketball court if it doesn't matter as I can possibly keep him, right? So, but yeah, I mean,
Anthony Davis has defined his entire career by being more selfish than his coach wanted him to be.
Right. Yeah.
By insisting on not playing center when his teams are much better as a center.
Well, and the reasoning you go through, Dave, is exactly why I battle with whether or not DA is going to make it, because all of that lends itself to, yeah, he should. And his performance and the Suns' performance lends itself to it should. But I still just can't see it happening because it's still us, right? We're still Suns fans. It's still the Suns. Yeah, we still can't have nice things. We'll have a couple of nice things, but not three nice things for the All-Star game this year.
Well, I think Paul George replaces Kawhi Leonard in the All-Star this year for the Clippers because I think they're good enough and they have enough national coverage that you've got that.
But
so
again, if he's
back
healthy, he's got a torn ligament in his elbow that's going to be reevaluated in like 3 or 4 weeks. So he could be voted in, but will he actually play is the question. I mean, there's a lot of guys out there who have some very interesting and prolonged injuries where a lot of these successful teams aren't going to rush them back so they have an opportunity to play in the All-Star game. They're going to sit them as long as they're – because, again, as you mentioned, Dave, the Western Conference is really interesting right now. You have 3 teams at the top in the Warriors, the Suns, and the Jazz, and everybody else is right in the middle. So the majority of these teams aren't going to necessarily – as long as they're treading water, there's no incentive to really rush anybody back. If their teams can tread water, knowing that they're playing against other teams that are trying to tread water, and they can just kind of stay in that 500 realm. I mean, the Lakers blow, and they're still the 7th seed.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to admit I made a fault here. Time has flown. I pulled up the 2020 All-Star game. So let's talk about the 2021 All-Star game.
Yeah.
Mike Conley made it last year. I don't think he's making it again. So that's where Devin Booker can easily get voted in there by the coaches.
Do you think John Morant gets in? I know he missed some time, and the team went 10-2 without him. They've lost 3 in a row. They played tonight against Sacramento, but they lost 3 in a row since he's come back. So a little Ewing theory there. But does John Morant get in? Could that be the Conley spot?
Yeah, I feel like John Morant's not going to get in. I think coaches are going to do similar to what they did to Devin Booker for a long time, which is
not ahead of Book.
You've got a future in the league where you're going to get the All-Star soon, and coaches. So he's certainly not going to get the fan vote, John Morant. So he's going to have to be picked by the coaches, and I think the coaches are going to pick the playoff opponents that scare them the most over the guys they haven't seen much yet. And I don't think they're going to do John Morant unless they run out of other good candidates, which at guard, they're not going to. Mm-hmm. So Mike Conley got in as an injury replacement last year. Devin Booker is an injury replacement last year. I think definitely they're going to vote. They're going to pick Devin Booker and they're going to say, fine, you deserve it. And then Chris Paul, of course, will make it again as well. But back to the forwards, last year, Paul George did get in as a reserve as Kawhi Leonard was picked as a starter. Paul George, I think, will get picked if he gets replaced for injury. Great. I don't know if he's injured the whole next month or two. Maybe the coaches don't even pick him because they know he won't play. Anthony Davis, same thing. Zion Williamson certainly won't get picked. There's a lot of space among the forwards in this game that there will be some first timers. So I do think that there's a could, potentially a should on DeAndre Ayton making the All-Star game.
I would congratulate him very heavily if he does.
All right, what do we got? Yeah.
This is what you get when you have me and Justin on, man. We just have a good time. We're just laughing.
That's fine. That's fine. All right, so let's move on. Dan Duarte is gonna buy you a drink, Justin, for this episode.
Well, I feel like
Buffalo Trace.
Yeah, obviously. Anything else? There's nothing else.
Yes, would be uncivilized.
At Buffalo Trace, of course.
All right, man. Let's see. So let's move on to quarter four, and then we're going to wrap this up. We've been here an hour already. Let's just talk about, let's predict the Suns' record in their next 3 games. So we've got the Grizzlies at home, who the Golden State Warriors beat in the final seconds last Thursday. Congratulations to the Warriors. We've got the Suns hosting the Thunder again this week. And we've got the Suns at the Celtics. So what do you think the Suns' record is going to be this week, Justin?
3-0. I don't think I've ever predicted the Suns to lose. I did once earlier this year, and it backfired terribly. And I vowed to never do that again. You guys have the
OG of Suns podcasts. You've been podcasting since they won 19 games in a year.
We also didn't predict whether they'd win or lose back then, Dave. We just there's understood.
I remember you guys went through a period of predicting the games for the week, Justin, and you always predicted them to go 4-0, and they went 0-4 most of the time.
That could have happened. I wouldn't deny it. So then my comment would stand. I've never
one.
Yes.
The podcast of optimism, and Paul was the pessimistic one, only predicting a 2-2 record, and they still went 1-3 or 0-4. Yeah.
And look, I like to think that we willed it all into existence, Dave. Now, when I pick losses, I'm wrong. See how the turntables have turned.
How the turns have tabled. Yes. Is there any sweeter drink than knowing that what we predicted for once in our lives actually came true? Because we all thought Booker and Bridges and Aiden could be a great core for a winning team when they lost 18 games in a row.
No, we all saw it coming. It was just a matter of time and a matter of putting some of the right pieces there. Monty Williams, of course, being one of them. James Jones being the other one, and now he being the one that's putting the pieces around for Monty to work. I mean, we have a beautiful setup going on right now, and yes, it is nice to see all of that come to fruition, especially after we had seen draft picks before that we thought would come to fruition, not come to fruition. In fact, be very, very far away from any fruit whatsoever.
Those are the fallen fruit. Yes.
The the rotten, fallen, decaying fruit at this point.
All right, Boyd,
I'm sure they're doing great though.
Yeah, I'll go 3-0. I mean, I think Memphis is the biggest challenge this upcoming week, but Memphis is going to be playing the second night of a back-to-back. They play at Sacramento tonight, then they play at Phoenix tomorrow. The Celtics, I just don't see it. It was fortified yesterday. I caught the back end of that Milwaukee game, and there they are. They have a big lead, and Jason Tatum's just dropping threes. It's like you just need to get points. Give it to Jaylen Brown, and he's just like, no, I'm on a Gatorade bottle, and so he's shooting threes that he's bricking them. He's turning the ball over. So, that's a team that I feel like. Now, granted, the Suns will be on the road for that game. But now that being said, now that I've mentioned both of those two games, OKC is going to be the one who comes up and bites us in the ass. But I think that it's another 3-0 week for the Phoenix Suns to end out this year and fortify. I think we said, Dave, last time I was on with you, they needed to go like 8-3 in their last 11 games, and that'll put them at 9-2. So best year ever in Phoenix Suns calendar year.
Oh, that's right. So what do they have to? How many games do they have to win to finish?
If they go 2-1 this week, they'll finish as the best percentage in a calendar year from January 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2021. The best calendar year in Phoenix Suns history. Win total and winning percentage is 2021 if they go 2-1 this week. If they go 1-2, then it goes to the 2007 Suns.
Then we might as well trade everybody.
Yeah, just blow it up.
Blow it up.
Yeah. Let's draft Josh Jackson again. That'd be fun.
All right, I'm going to predict 3-0. I think the Suns are going to take this loss seriously. They're going to play hard against Memphis. I think we should. Well, no, we don't want to congratulate other teams' players, but I want to congratulate John Morant for ruining the Memphis Grizzlies by coming back from injury.
See, that's okay, Dave. See that there you can congratulate. It's acceptable then.
You don't get to pick and choose when I congratulate.
Yes,
So
I absolutely do.
No, you don't.
I can choose when I approve it, though.
That's your
Mommy and
choice.
Daddy are fighting again.
The Thunder, they're going to win, and they're going to beat the Celtics. So I say 3-0, and they finish with the best calendar year record in Suns franchise history.
So here's what we need to do next week, Dave, is you need to have Matthew on and Paul on. So there's a little bit more of so there's a little bit more disagreement because like all three of us are agreeing on like everything. Like 2 All-Stars, 3-0. Warriors not
No,
worried.
I picked 3 All-Stars. For the record, I picked 3 All-Stars.
Okay, but it was like a back way of picking that third All-Star. You're like, if he's a forward, which we know won't happen.
And I'm going to congratulate the Suns for getting 3 All-Stars in.
That's the name of the podcast.
Congratulations.
Suns lose, comma. Congratulations, Warriors. Love. DK. Now, here's another question I have
Did
for
you
you.
like
Dave,
how
real
I
quick.
titled the recap? Damon Allred wrote our recap on Brightside, and I'm sure every single one of you guys read that.
I did.
Did you?
No.
Did you appreciate how? No, you didn't. Liar. Suns relinquished Christmas Day in first place to Golden State.
So real quick question
Christmas
for
Day.
you, Dave, while I'm here.
Yes.
So this podcast has a relationship with DraftKings, right?
DraftKings.
There you go. You use the code
Those
TBPN.
listening to this will have already heard the little commercial that I'll be recording. for this
Perfect.
episode, yeah.
So it's DraftKings and you're Dave King. Like, how have you not capitalized on that in any way, shape, or form? Like, it's literally like 3 letters off.
DraftKings,
Yeah.
Dave King.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm not very creative with that. I haven't done anything with my last name. I could have been King Dave this whole time, and I haven't been. I
On
could have
the
been
pod with the
Sun
crown.
King this whole time. I could have had the crown. I could have had everything. I'm not very good at capitalizing.
I feel like
I
that
need
might
a
have been
marketing
difficult to
manager.
get people to buy into, though.
King Dave.
Like, yeah, I'm just speaking from my own experience personally. I feel like I would give you a lot of guff if you wanted to be called King Dave.
Guff.
Guff.
He
Guff.
knows from
That's an old man
experience
word.
because he used to be
Yeah.
called Prince
It is.
Justin in high school. And, royalty
Prince
just doesn't work. Look at King James. I mean, it's just everyone hates him for the self-proclaimed.
Hey,
Every time
King James. Well, let's put this power ranking together. Central Justin, Sweet James, King James. What's the power ranking on those 3?
Central Justin for the win.
Obviously, I mean,
Yes.
if there's any doubt, then we're not friends. That's
We're Twitter acquaintances.
Well, we've always
Best.
just been Twitter acquaintances and
Oh.
business partners.
I never.
Dave. Dave really cuts to the core when he's unhappy. It's
Yeah,
it's-
well, that's King Dave coming at you right
King
there.
Dave. King Dave
You're-
fights dirty.
You're just merely a peasant.
Peasant. Voida and I talk too much. It's obvious, dude. Like way too on the same page here.
All right. man.
Sorry,
Well,
Dave.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
But
Thank
then the
you
week
very
after that, after Voida, after it's Lissy and Paul, by the way, then I think we need a Dave Dan Duarte
Done.
one-on-one
That's it.
episode.
Yes.
That's
Just one.
that's what I want for Christmas, Dave, from you.
Dave and Dan.
Dave
Dude,
and
we
Dan.
would rock.
Just Dan
We
and
would
Dave, just
rock.
like we could make like old like decathlon like commercials,
Yes.
like the Dan and Dave in the like 90s. Remember those?
Yeah, from the
Dave, you
Barcelona
remember
Olympics.
Yeah.
And then
If
didn't,
I
like,
remember them,
Dave
Dave remembers them.
sucked?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No,
I
one of them
don't
didn't even make the
remember.
Olympics.
Yeah, one of them making the Olympics. Yeah, it was this whole promotional thing for those of you who are under 35 and you have no idea what we're talking about. Yeah, they had this whole promotional thing for these. They were trying to get everyone into the decathlon, and there were 2 guys. There was Dan and Dave, and they were showing them all these Nike commercials and everything. McDonald's, it's like none of those guys are smashing on McDonald's, but there they are eating a cheeseburger. And one of the guys didn't even make the Olympics.
I think it was actually Reebok that pushed them, and then what happened?
There you go.
Reebok since then has been
Yeah,
Yeah, I
fact.
do remember that. All right,
Dave.
one night only, one show only. Yes, Coach Fallen Founder. King Dave versus Dan the Man.
There you go. Let's
I will
go.
be
Oh
inviting
my
Dan
God.
Miller.
That is the ringing into 2022 that everybody in Suns Nation needs.
2021.
Into 2022.
Oh,
Be a
into
title
okay
match.
with the fireworks, and then we're calling the fireworks show.
This will be the first episode ever, podcast ever, where "fuck that guy" was about the other co-host on the show.
Actually, I think that has happened on Fanning the Flames. To be fair, I think Paul has been the subject of it, whether by name or not. It's been there. The substance has
Wow.
been there.
All right, man, we're teasing.
It's all in love. It's all in
Into
love.
reality. We'll see, man. I'll
Baby
invite
Jesus,
him. I'll invite him.
8-pound, 3-ounce baby Jesus.
I'll put my
please.
hat in the ring. It's on.
I'm texting.
senor.
I'm texting him as soon as we get off and letting him know.
Well, why do you have to? Is
Getting
it
this commitment.
right now?
Yes.
No.
Probably not.
He's sleeping in. It's the day after Christmas.
Yeah, Dave. What kind of psychos are up right now talking about the Suns?
Just us psychos. And in the chat.
Our kind
All of us
All,
awesome
all
psychos.
tens of us in the chat. Yeah, at the moment. Yes.
The
All right,
real
man.
ones.
I
The real
appreciate
ones.
everyone who did get on this chat today. You guys are the original Flaming Ballers. Thank you so much for being in the chat today. Thank you, Voida, for joining me. Thank you, so says Jay, for joining me. I appreciate you guys. This has been a great hour. It's been really fun, very therapeutic. Makes me feel great after a crappy Christmas. So thank you guys for making my day better. And to all you ballers out there, you guys have a great week.